Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba! Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Drock Show.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, do you
We are
want
so
to start
excited to
introducing
see you.
ourselves? Like, you mentioned that.
Introduce?
Should we? Hi,
Yeah,
I'm
I told you.
Drock.
It's really. Hi, I'm Mama Drock.
Nice to have you. Welcome aboard.
He
This
was very
is
happy for me.
this is such a good arc in that if you want every Straw Hat to have a shining moment, everybody does cool things this arc.
You know what else is great about this arc? People who are big Zoro fanboys who stand for Zoro, are all like, "Brr, Mama Drock, hate Zoro," and I'm like, "Don't be an asshat.
Mm-hmm.
Shit together." I love Zoro, and in this one, I get to be like, Zoro.
You
Yeah.
get to hype up Zoro so much.
He massively does, but I think that you can't look in this arc and not think to yourself, dude is everything that is honor. Like he's just honoring it up. He wakes up in the morning, has a bull. He has honor for lunch. He takes it for dinner, takes a nap, and wakes up with honor. He is honor.
Oh man,
Robin gets wings. What do you
Robin
mean
does.
Robin gets
Robin
wings?
briefly got wings this arc to fly when Robin and Frankie were about to fall,
Right. Oh, those were so
where she just
cool.
used different
I'm
body parts in a combination to make wings.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This arc rocked. I had to quit reading it in color, which has been the opposite for me lately because I was just like, ugh, the color is so wrong for this. This is film noir. I want it dark.
People want to know if your opinion on Brooke changed because there was a lot of talk in
You
the
know
community
what?
about your hatred of
I
Brooke.
think
But
I think that my about Brooke are best described in a song.
uh
I'm not gonna sing it though.
huh, okay.
I was talking to a kid. I was just telling Drock about this because I was talking to a kid a couple of days ago about Brooke. And I said, people are kind of having this whole thing where they're trying to say, oh, Brooke doesn't really know what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah. And the kid was like, no, he's an absolute pervert. I really like the guy, but I'm not going to pretend he's not a pervert. And I
Yeah.
was like, thanks. That's all I want to hear. How do
Well,
I feel about Sanji now? Yeah, we'll get into all of this, guys.
about how we feel about
There's a
Sanji
lot
this arc. It's
to unpack. Let me
look.
just say, Sanji, kind of a bad kid.
If the rivalry between Sanji and Zoro is unavoidable, I have to say Zoro fans eat good in the arc where Sanji fans eat worst.
I would agree.
Like this
Thank you,
arc
Shadow's Wing.
definitely is points towards the Zoro side of the rivalry.
Now, the whole he's been on a ship with no woman for years, I want to look at their panties. Nah, no. No excuses for him. He's a pervert.
Should we just start getting into the story and reach those jokes as we get to them?
I don't know where we begin because I don't know how that
Oh, I
works
accidentally moved the
anymore.
canvas. Whoops. Well, we begin with the crew wandering through the mists.
Okay, does anyone know where we started this
Someone
time?
said
Because I don't know
489,
if
I think. 442? We've had so many answers, guys.
it is 442 because I just saw Brooks' old tall ass body on this page when I went there. So we're good there. So this was really interesting for me because we're getting to know we're getting to know the Sunny, and we hadn't spent that much time with her. As soon as I saw the fish tank, I thought to myself, "You have to pet the boy." I've met the kids. I think our crew is going to put a shark in there, and it's going to eat everything. And sure enough, that occurred. So we knew it would. I'm glad it did. I was not disappointed. And then they get the barrel, and I was like, "Oh God, no, not the barrel." Everybody knows that the barrel is in tons of narratives. Don't open the damn barrel. They did, which I knew they also would, but I was like, "Oh, kids these days." But then, just as I was getting to know our ship and how we come out to a brand new ship, get sucked away into a storm, and find ourselves with how do you do Brooks laugh?
Yo!
And he's singing Binks Brew when we meet him, by the way, which is super, super cool. And then as soon as we saw him, because one of our regulars, one of our awesome people in the team was like, "Mama, would you like it if we?" I saw.
You are actually cutting out more than normal. You just, yeah, it was, but it was asking if you would like us to have a crewmate with an afro after we saw Afro Luffy.
Yeah, and so we saw the afro, and I was like, "Oh no, we're gonna have this weirdo as a crew member." No. no. I was so sad because I didn't know him at all.
He was just the
And
weird skeleton.
I'm like, no, we're gonna have a skeleton as a crew member?
You know
Is
what's
this a
funny?
skeleton crew? Get it? Bone joke. Anyway,
Skull joke.
so then, as soon as we met him, Brooke the gentleman skeleton, I was like, yeah, he's gonna be in our crew. I wonder how it's gonna happen. So I thought that I was gonna wait the entire arc, and then at the end of the arc, he was gonna join. And instead, we walk up, and I could not have been more relieved because I knew I wasn't gonna have to hang out. Never mind all that. Do you want to join my crew? I'd love to. It's like, this is so Luffy. And just before he does that, we do a close up on Luffy's face with his scar. And I was like, yeah, good reminder. Thank you, Oda. And so we get to find out that Luffy is maybe a little quick on the draw. I think there's going to be some jokes about bones and stuff from now on. I don't know if you've noticed that, but people really seem to be into the bone jokes.
Does your translation call them bone jokes? The dub called them
Yeah, but I also called crocodile face.
You know what? Fair. Why would I expect you to use the term that your translation used? You raise a good point.
I don't know why you're questioning this. And later on, when I explain my reason that I think people are okay with his perversion, I'm going to make a better bone joke.
God damn it. That's good. That's good.
I really feel like, because you and I argued about who we thought had the worst, most tragic backstory out of all of the members here. And I would say he's right up there on the list as far as tragic backstories go. I think Robin and Brooke are
my contenders for most brutal. Although, I think Nami's up there too.
Oh, I need to say something now, and let's make sure this gets into the edits, because I'm warring with somebody in the comments, because a kid told me about.
Oh my god, yeah, you're picking fights? Okay.
I have a different ability to pick a fight than they do. So this kid was like, look what this person said, and I was like, that is actually ignorant enough that I'm going to do this.
Okay, wow.
Somebody said that I was wrong. It wasn't a shipwright. It's a carpenter. That's what Frankie is. And I just want to read the definition of shipwright for them so I can help them out a little bit.
I saw that comment too, and I was like, this is some pedantry.
So a shipwright builds and repairs boats of all sizes, from light vessels like canoes to heavier vessels like naval ships and yachts. They generally work in shipyards, small boat yards, marinas, and other workshop environments. So, as I said, shipwright.
Do we have any proof that this man's built a boat, though?
Yes.
But is he repaired a boat, though?
Me? Czar? Yeah, that's exactly what I was like. Fight me, bro. Let's go.
We'll get to thoughts on Kuma. I think we got to save Kuma for the end. Kuma's going to dominate a lot of the end of this.
Yeah, the problem is I want to burst through all of this so we can all sit around with Kuma.
Let's hit it so we can get to Kuma. All right. They go out sailing. Nami crashes, right? Brooke's like, turns out I can't go with you for some reason. Why? Reasons. Oh, okay.
Reasons.
And then they leave him.
Reasons I don't want to talk about that are very mysterious. Also,
mysterious
I don't
reasons.
Have a shadow.
Yo!
You know what this is? This is great reenactment. People are getting not only a really wonderful look at the story, but also reenactment.
That's what they're here for.
Don't even worry about that. Don't forget there's ghosts. Don't forget we find out about all the different systems, the 5 channels of the boats with the 2 zeros. Like, so many cool things going on there. I love the Mini Mary. Can we just take a moment to talk about how much I love the Mini Mary? The Mini Mary, I mentioned it in the previous stream too. I talked about it. I can't get enough of her. I love her. I want to hug her. She is the best. You missed nothing. Nothing happened, Jokey. And then
every time someone asks that, we need to say it. It's not going to get old. Hey, Cricket, if you finish the edit as fast as you thought you did and you're here, what if you leave it in every time that happens? That's such a bad idea, but wouldn't it be funny if you left in every single time? No, wait. Okay, Cricket, hear me out. Future editing Cricket, you're watching this. Can you save all of the clips where someone asks, what did I miss? And we say, oh, don't, Mama says, no, nothing happened. Can you save all of those? And at the end on the outro, after we show the final clip, can you just show like, all of the
And have a
bits of
counter,
someone
yes,
saying,
Red Dragon,
yeah,
with a
yeah,
counter.
what did I miss? And Mama saying nothing happened. Thank you, Celio. Celio and Cricket are the same person.
Then
Here we
after
go.
she crashes, a few people go on to shore because they're stupid and they don't know how to get out. And there's a Cerberus-like dog trying to take them over, so that's why they have to go. I told you that I didn't particularly enjoy the idea of Nami crashing into things because it makes no sense. Nami
Yeah.
has way too good of ability as a weather witch / crazy inspirational navigator.
Yeah.
So it was kind of So then later on in the arc, what did we say about that?
Well,
That it
what
because it
I
was
what I came to is, for me, it was before we know what Thriller Bark was. So my read on it was, it makes sense, and it was a hint that something about the island isn't normal, and that it's like it was coming at her in a way that didn't make sense. So my thinking is that she only crashed because Thriller Bark is a boat, and it was meant to be our hint that something's weird about the island.
Yeah, I'll allow that. I love the Cerberus. I don't know if you know this about me, but I like puppies.
This will tie into
Are
a
you gonna say
fan
mean
theory
things about
later.
my puppy?
No, this will tie into a fan
Oh,
theory later. I've never
go ahead.
noticed this before, but Impel Down is referred to as hell. The
Yeah.
gates of hell were protected by that three-headed dude. Because of that, you compared him to a Cerberus, right? And then
Yep.
immediately after that, we meet another Cerberus. And I have to say, there's a fan theory I can't talk to you about yet, but it's about Cerberuses that this is incredible supporting evidence for. And I'm not usually a subscriber of this theory. So those of you who like the Cerberus theory, and if you know it, you know what I'm talking about, it kind of fits in because our third Cerberus was right in between those other two. What happens next?
Okay.
Like, all of the weakling trio
So
gets separated
the
from everybody,
weird
right?
I love the weird going through the Victorian woods in the coach. I love how he's like, I'm trying to tell you this is Victorian. We're in a coach, goddammit. And I love the pulling up to the castle and the atmosphere and the zombies. Like, just this is one of the most atmospheric arcs that he had done up until now. And I think it was so delicious. The animals and the dancing, and I bet you as an anime, I was thinking like this must have been absolutely freaking wild, like the singing and the cacophony of sounds.
I think the anime I'm mixed on here because I think the budget didn't feel quite as high. It didn't feel quite as well animated as Enies Lobby did. However, the music was really, really good. Bink Sake apparently had been being composed for years before it was even in the manga. Like, being composed for the anime before he put it in the manga with the person he wanted to compose it.
I like
Okay.
that when Chopper and Usopp and Nami are there, that they're like, "Oh my god, zombies!" They're freaking out. The zombies come at us. So terrifying because it was such a good juxtaposition for the way that Frankie and Luffy and all of them walked up when they were like, "Huh, zombies," and then Luffy is like, "Look at these old injured men." It's like this
An
is
old man with
exactly
severe wounds. It's so funny.
this old man has severe wounds. It was exactly. And where is Usopp getting all of these frickin' outfits? Because this outfit is banger.
I
Usopp
love
is dressed to
this
kill.
outfit. Implies to me that Usopp was worried they might run into a zombie island and ahead of time bought a bunch of like exorcist gear.
Yeah, it also says that he's actually afraid of dead people ahead of time because he's prepared for this shit.
Oh my god.
The plate joke with Sindri is brilliant. Dr. Hogback being such a letdown to poor Chopper just broke my heart for Chopper.
Don't meet your heroes, kids.
Okay, so we meet Dr. Hogback finally. I think that this is a very, very hard day to be Chopper. So hard that Santa got me a chopper so that I could hang out with Chopper. I think, though, that this arc was so gross because of one particular thing. What do you think the one particular thing
Again.
is?
Okay, I'm gonna say Absalom as I head off.
Oh, I hate him so much. What a piece of crap, disgusting, pervy, gross, bleh, bleh. Oh, I'm not playing that game with Pearl and Absalom and Spandam. It would be kill, kill, and kill. Seeing Nami vulnerably just being in the shower and just trying to have a nice life and have a delicious shower after a long time and have somebody pin her against the wall naked and know that they were leering at her naked body.
I think,
Bleh.
didn't he also lick her?
Yes. because she said, "Yeah, that feels like a rough blah blah blah. I'm going to make you my bride." Like, sorry, I threw up in my mouth.
Absalom should be dead.
Yeah, he is horrific. He licks her, and he is a sexual predator. And then we're supposed to just be like, yeah, it's fine that he didn't get killed. And the anime would it made it worse? I imagine it would, because watching this, I was like thinking how glad I was that I didn't have to see it as kind of like in motion.
Yeah,
This
it's
was
one
bad
of the
enough.
worst things to watch. It's horrific.
Watching though, because right after that happens is when we get to see team number 2, and it kind of reminds me, it's another one, choose your competitor. And then in comes the second group, and they've got their backpacks and they have their appropriate things and they're armed, and they come up, and then Luffy is like, sit. And in the first one, they're like, oh my god, we're gonna get killed. And then Luffy's like, good boy. Aw, you're a good boy. And then the dog moves and he beats him up. And I was like, and then he becomes friends and it becomes his pony. And I was thinking, this is such a perfect foil between these two groups. We can see exactly what they are like. But I also feel like I'd like to see some of the weaker players actually hang out with some of the stronger players sometimes. The chick coming out of the painting must have been terrifying in the anime.
Weirdly enough, no. I just don't think they put the right emphasis on it. I will say, I did show the clip of Luffy pushing the zombie back in the hole because it might be one of the funniest gifs to have ever been created. It is.
I literally watch it
funny.
for everything now. This is a really good arc to have now, because it's really good for us to start to know kind of the limitations of some of the things that the doctor is doing, and the being able to take things like shadows and infuse them in somebody else's body and have two bodies animated at the same time, piecing together things, et cetera, because it kind of, even though this one is crass and everyone seems quilted together, but you can kind of see like this is the low level doctoring when he's trying some stuff out, but you can actually see what the other doctor might be like that Kuna has, who is like the top of the top and is said to be 500 years in the future. I think they're already trying to allude. Yeah, I think they're already trying to allude to the fact, like, if you're seeing this and this is a person who feels almost like they're in the Victorian era and they're ahead of time, imagine the things that are possible for people who are 500 years further in advancement. So I think that's what made this arc so cool for me. Power scaling doctors. Yeah, it kind of is though, isn't it?
Power
Because
scaling of
that's
scientists,
exactly,
yeah.
it really felt like it was. If you see this and what they're capable of doing here, then it does power scale science and medicine.
I genuinely think science is a power system in One Piece. And like think about the crew. Sure, we have people who use devil fruits and people who don't. We have people who use martial arts and people who don't. Science is the exact same way. Chopper, Usopp, and Frankie all have science as part of or the main component of their arsenal, and science is a power system in One Piece that has the exact same scaling as martial arts, Haki, which we don't know much about yet, but clearly has levels to it, as alluded to with the conversation with Whitebeard and Shanks, and devil fruits, and weapon skills,
and
which
Nami,
are those are martial arts. You're right, Nami. Her science her science is Usopp's though. Like, she's not building it herself. She's very smart, just not a scientist.
But if we're talking about just brain ability and stuff, Nami, I'd put Nami on that list.
But I think science is a power system in One Piece, and I think like
Robin is not science. Like, people often forget that archaeology requires a great deal of different type of science.
But I'm talking about like science as far as the power system is like ability in making things for fights, because I think that is scaled in a very shonen way in One Piece.
I was so glad that we got to see the bow and anchor for the ship's wheel. We got to see the gun inside of the lion's head and the anchor rope and the little. I think it was amazing. So I was super happy. I liked the boat design continued through this whole thing, and I kind of felt like it was really cool for us because we were getting to see this whole awesome boat thing, and then in the background was this cool story. So they were so different from each other that I didn't feel like it crossed over, and it was kind of cool. The other thing I was going to say though is that then we had Enru's Great Space Mission inside of this arc as well. So for me, I was like, there's two Frankenstein arcs taking place at the same time. We're just not paying attention to one and seeing them as
Oh.
being two Frankenstein arcs because the
Oh.
entire Enru flashback that was taking place in all of these different pages was another person who's a scientist who was putting together
I for
robotic, artificial
yeah.
intelligent people and using all these different parts and creating people at the same time and having an army that was taking place. So for me, I felt like we were watching two pet the boy, two different kind of
Oh boy,
mad
come here.
scientists
Come here,
making
baby.
people, and then on top of that,
Oh,
it was juxtapositioning what might
good
be
boy,
taking
good
place
boy.
for um, people like our big bad bear in the future, because we were being able to see what was possible. Does that make sense to you?
No, I get that.
I'm seeing these two, and I'm not even getting to have a look at Dr. Vegapunk, who's apparently so far ahead of these guys and what they're capable of. And so I started to see what he was doing with the building of these robot guys, and then thinking about what the gross Thriller Bark Doctor was doing. And I was like, if you could combine these two abilities of creating a body that is made of all these difficult materials and that's got AI, but then also put spirit into it. If you could change a person this much, what would that be like? And then boom, Kuma. So I thought that was interesting. Um, so when we move through and we find out that the lady died 10 years ago, like I was glad for the characters that they got to move through things slowly, but I just felt like I knew what was going on pretty early in
And you
this.
wanted them to figure out it was an evil castle,
Yeah,
and you were just
I
waiting,
was
like,
just kind of
guys,
like, come on, guys.
guys, it's an evil castle.
You got to know this by now. They're stealing the shadows and putting them into these. Like, the fact that you're not picking up on this is they're laying it down pretty thick. So
These aren't the
I wanted them
sneakiest
to.
dudes.
Oh yeah, the postmortem boob job. Ugh, so gross. I'm with you on that.
Oh my
I
god,
kind
I
of
didn't.
like the.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they talk about it. They even talk about it,
Hogback is
right?
terrible.
Like, ew, just ew. I like the ghosts though. I like the ghosts going through people. I like the chick with the ghosts. What's
I
her
love
name again?
Perona. You okay? I knew
Perona.
you'd eventually love Perona, but you, when you saw how much people loved her, were worried she was joining the crew and wanted to hate her until you were certain she wasn't coming along.
As soon as I knew she wasn't joining the crew, I just got to like her a lot more.
Perona is a top tier henchman. Like I think she is
It's
one of the
also
best henchmen
because
in the series.
I think she's amazing. I was also because I didn't want her to be part of the crew because I knew we weren't getting that many more crew members. And I was like,
Mhm.
we just got Frankie, and then boom, we Frankie's brand new seat is barely warm, and on comes a skeleton. So I was like, can we not get the next one so quickly? Like,
Yeah,
ugh.
I
um,
I
I
really
love that
really
all of
like
them have to
Perona.
apologize for Luffy, but this one of the things I like best about Thriller Bark
Mhm.
is it's one of the funniest frickin' arcs we've had
God,
yet.
the comedy is constant. There's so many
It's
amazing jokes and
gold.
bits.
Yeah, like, all of the parts with Luffy, especially because Luffy plays such a great straight man,
Mhm.
and so Luffy coming in and them going like, "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" says Luffy. We're zombies, so we were buried, rotting." "Yeah, I was rotting. Yeah, me too."
I
So
okay,
good.
actually, you just pointed something out that's incredible about Luffy's character writing. He is built to be either the goofball or the straight man
Or
as
the
is
straight
needed
man.
because he's dumb
Yeah,
enough to not realize he's being a goof or to not realize that there's like a social etiquette that people are observing and he can just be blunt and be the straight man. Like he
exactly.
can switch between
And
both expertly and he does it
that's
so
what
well
makes
in this arc.
Luffy's character such gold to write with. Like, it's amazing
Mhm.
how many times he's just like, in this case, Luffy is completely clueless about the fact that he's the straight man, and it makes it so much stronger. And then boom, he flips immediately, like 2 pages later, and he is the comedic joy. It was
Maybe something more
interesting for
defined.
me reading this because I was telling you that I thought it was incredible that Oda really takes advantage of his want to try to write into so many genres. Like he writes everything from kind of like Arabian Nights and 1001 Alibaba and the 40 Thieves and all the way through all these different things. And in this one, he's kind of writing Victorian horror fiction and he gets to write through all these different genres. You were telling me that there was actually a manga that does that even more.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it last time, but Hunter x Hunter changes not like it changes everything arc to arc when it wants to do a new genre.
Yeah.
I do think you'd like Hunter x Hunter, and I think we should check it out at some point. But Berserk is definitely next on the menu.
Excuse me, you there. I just saw how frighteningly strong you are. Could I please have a word with you? An old man with severe injuries. For crying out loud, it's a zombie. No, I'm an old man with severe injuries.
Best fucking joke in the arc. Oh my god.
Good comedy. This whole thing is so good.
It couldn't be more peak comedy. That's so good.
Yeah, I loved this arc for the comedy. I don't have enough connections. You know when you can feel something like as I was reading this, I was thinking there are hints everywhere in here. And I've got a bunch of them and I've pulled them out and stuff, but there are hints everywhere in here that I'm missing like the tiniest bit of information to unlock. That made me so mad. As I was reading this, I had to just start being like, you got to be into it for the sake of the arc and quit thinking about its hints and just allow it to be what it is. But having two warlords here, once again, we're not supposed to have warlords coming together all the time. And once again, we've got warlords coming together. And so having two warlords here, I was like, God dang, we're coming up to something. I'm really hoping that's soon. Super soon.
Like I said, we're heading into a dramatic territory, and yeah, I think you have the media literacy that you're just feeling it. But yeah, the end of the first half of One Piece, we are after this heading into the saga of arcs that tells the story of the end of the first half.
Yeah, I would agree.
So
I want to know if there's more to this. The four
emperors.
No. Chapter 449 is called The Four Monsters of Thriller Bark, which is amazing. It's
about the generals, yeah.
Yeah. And I want to know more about the four generals. Also, I want to know why they chose to put the Zoro, Luffy picking his nose, of course, because Oda loves nose picking. And then we have Nami, and behind them is the dragon. And I'm like, why did you choose to do this? Why is Zoro looking at the dragon in that
I remember way? This was the cover image you spent the most time thinking about was the one with the dragon. And what I said, and I think
odd.
And now that I think you are done, you can agree that there's a reason that this argument makes sense. I think him hearkening back to the dragon and using the term monster was very intentional to make people think of his one-shot monsters because Ryuma is important to this arc.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. I just think it was interesting the way that he chose. Everything about it would have been that would have been a lot more of an obvious thing, except for the way that he chose to draw Zoro and the bemused look that Zoro had on his face while he was looking at the dragon.
And this is why you came to a conclusion where you have now another theory about what Sanji might secretly be.
It would be, in my opinion, it's equally, okay, so let me just say, I know that not necessarily and most likely my directions isn't right. Like I know that them being in 4 different areas, not supposed to be coming together and having them spread out across the world is important. But I know that it isn't necessarily done in the direction of the cardinal road.
Because they were said to all be in the second half of the Grand Line.
Exactly. But by the way, Oda, like what a mess, man. Like that would have been so cool. And so I know that he's done something really cool with them, and I've got to figure out the way in which that's done. And that's fine. I know mine isn't right. I knew it wasn't right to begin with, but it's a great way of placeholding them for me so that I can think about them. And that's kind of like Sanji when I think about Sanji being a dragon, because same thing, his leg heating up. It would be interesting. Sanji doesn't know where he comes from. It would be really logical for Sanji to be a dragon. Like it would make sense. Some high, powerful dragon. He knows where he came from
because we did see him say he came from the North Blue.
No, I think that
it makes... that's a thing that he
no,
said.
I know. No, I'm saying no to something I was thinking in my head.
Okay. That wasn't to me. Okay.
I almost said it again because I started to think it again. But I have this feeling like there's
Uh-huh.
all these things going on with Sanji that he's starting to come into, and he's feeling parts of himself. Do does Sanji know his own backstory? Because we know that he was on the ship when it went down.
It's tough to say. So you're wondering if there's anything about Sanji from before he met Zeph, before he was working on that boat as a kitchen assistant.
Yeah. So like this person said, him smoking all the time. So like
That
one of
does
the
feel
things that I
dragony.
said is that yeah, the only problem is that lots of the dragons in Japan are more water based, but
Mhm.
still there's something about that. So Sanji being a dragon kind of also makes sense.
All right.
Um
Do we want to
and
throw this in the pile? Are you wanting to confirm button down on this one?
yeah, okay. Only because
Black lung
it could be
Sanji.
very wrong, and I'm not taking Sanji being a demon off the table.
Okay. We're not taking it off the
I'm
table.
comfortable with them both.
All right.
Pedal goes up. So I like the idea of Sanji's backstory having some dragonish thing because when I was looking at this cover art, having the way that Zoro is looking at the dragon and the way that the other crew members are just standing on the dragon's back and just kind of enjoying it and not worried at all made it feel like and I understand exactly what you were saying and exactly why you said it. And yes, the Ryu is very important in the arc. And yes, it's one of his original monsters, but it
Mm-hmm.
also felt so familial, not familiar, very different,
Yeah.
familial. And they're
Okay.
found family. And so that it had that bit of a feeling to it for me. So I
All
was like,
right.
I'm willing to stick that out there. Plus, him cooking, working with heat. I don't know. Both the demon and the dragon thing worked for me for Sanji, but Sanji has got secret things going on. Like Sanji has got a history. I love that we haven't heard about it yet because it makes it something that's even more cool. He's and and I love that too because when you've got a protagonist like Luffy who's such a bossy britches because he has he is so good. He is just that good as a protagonist that he does take a lot of attention away. And so you only think of him as being the proverbial farm boy, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But why doesn't it mean that Sanji can also be the proverbial
Yeah,
farm
you've
boy? Why
pointed out that
can't
there's only one character you think is more so good than Luffy.
more so good?
Well, you were talking about there was a character you think the problem with them is that they're better than Luffy, and that might
Ah,
not be able to stay.
yeah, exactly.
Hey, Cats Just in Space caught it. It's the forbidden theory. That's the forbidden prediction is what I was referencing.
Yeah, this person just said it about Ace dying.
What? We
Forbidden
don't say it.
prediction.
I thought we didn't say it out loud. What the forbidden
This
prediction was.
person said it.
I mean, you have alluded to it heavily.
Listen to me right now. I know I'm right.
You know you're right.
No, you don't know. I know I'm right.
Uh
I
huh.
saw a thing at one time when I already had that idea. I
Uh
saw a
huh.
thing and I know I'm right. And I just know.
I we have viewers who
I'm
watch for the
still
first time
hoping
with
I'm
you, so
wrong.
I don't want to ask you what you saw, but
No.
should I
I
ask you
still
what you
hoping I'm
saw?
wrong and I read the thing wrong and a person was talking about something else, but I had already predicted it over and over again and was like, no,
It's
I'm not
true.
going to say that.
Basically, from the chapter you've met Ace, you've been predicting he'll die, like you hate the poor boy or something. You've just been hoping him dead for months.
No, only off air. I'm only predicting it off air.
That
I
is true.
never predict it on air. I've said a whole bunch of reasons. I think that Ace, and I went back and I've been looking at other narratives, and this isn't something that I wanted to get into, but yeah, I went back and I'd been looking a lot of other narratives once I found out what Ace's name was, right when I first met him. And I started to go and look at all the different port keys that I know about and all the different stories I know where it has like passageways and protected ways and port keys into things. And like, seriously, it's like 8 times out of 10 that they die, break, fall apart, become unusable, etc., etc. So if a person is a port key, I was like, no, that's not good. That's not good. And then when this started to happen, because I told you before that I thought that Ace, I think I thought that Ace was going to be in trouble and going to be stolen, which he was. And then it turns out in this arc, we find out that the piece of paper near the end, I do what I want, so we're at the end now, that the piece of paper at the end talks about how Ace is in current danger. And then Luffy is like, that's fine. He'd be mad if I went and helped him. Everything's good. And I was like, Luffy, man. And so I felt like when I saw that, then I said this would be one of those times that Luffy Ace could maybe use the magic circles, or the magic circles be used to go and get Ace or to leave with him if they eventually decide to actually help him out, because currently Luffy is just like, everything's okay, he'll be great, being captured is awesome. So yeah.
Oh no. It had been very clear for a long time what Mama Drock's forbidden prediction was.
She just doesn't want to say it.
Yeah, do you want it to be on the prediction counter? It doesn't have to go on there.
Right.
Do you know you're right? You could be wrong. Anything could happen.
Right. No, I'm right. Fine, put it in.
Kaido, you heard her. The forbidden prediction has been added to our prediction list.
So sad right now.
I leave it to Celio if he thinks it's a better idea to leave it in or cut it out from the video, because he's been very, very excited to edit this. They're the one who's the huge Brook fan. They did the Brook edit. That's so nice.
It's funny though how only the people who come in here know some things, because then kids will read me comments and I'll be like, yeah, I talked about that, and then I realize, oh yeah. So, with the people of this world.
All right, should we keep going?
Let's keep going. I'm sad we even talked about that. Dude is huge, by the way. Like, when all of his little minions run up to him, one of our 7 warlords, they are so tiny next to him.
Seeing Gecko Moria stand beside Kuma's crazy, because those two being the same height, like, when you've seen both of them tower over everyone, it makes so much sense, but something about them standing next to each other felt wild. Like, these are just two gigantic dudes.
Yeah, like, absolutely ridiculously large.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also interesting then, because when you're looking at the rest of the castle, it doesn't feel like he should fit into any of the rooms in a regular way. Even the ones that are quite large, you're like, how is it possible that he is free run of the castle?
Okay, yeah, so I thought about this myself. Here's my thinking, right? You know how royalty will have, like, servants' tunnels that they never go through that just connect everything?
Yeah.
I think Moria cares so little about... First of all, I think he stole this castle. I think he stole this fucking island. That's all. Ever since we met him, that's been my theory. He's a pirate and he has an island with a castle. I think he stole it. Like, I think this island... He didn't build this castle.
Agreed.
I like to think that the reason he can only fit in certain areas is he doesn't give a shit. He's like, whatever, I don't need to live in a house that big. That's basically servants' quarters. They can do what they want. I have the cool zone I can hang out in.
I would absolutely totally agree. So I was thinking, like, he obviously hangs out in a few different areas and then everybody else goes all around. Is she pink? I didn't see her now that I think about it.
Oh yeah, you didn't do color this time. Perona is very pink.
It didn't work. For me, black and white was so much better for this.
Overall, but I think it's very important to note just how pink Perona is. It's honestly a look. She's got style.
Oh, she does have style. What the Brook edit Mama and Drock talked about. You should join the Discord, because people put things in there all the time that are super good. What did they say? What do you think of their zombies? Yeah, we're in the section where we find their zombies. Love that Sanji still started beating up the other zombies when they started to try and fight women. I love the idea that the zombies stay themselves for a while before they can come out of who they are. But I mean, I voted as Brook's zombie being the best zombie, because it is an incredible zombie, but, like, not to take away from Or's Luffy, because Or's Luffy is freaking hilarious. Some of the best comedy there is.
I think I'm doing Luffy Or's for me, but Brook Ryuma is so good.
Brook Ryuma is amazing. And then to have that fight be what it is and have his characters coming back from previous manga, that's amazing.
It's really fun.
Also love the Your Song t-shirt on Jagoro of the Wind, Zombie General. Amazing. I felt so bad though for Sanji. Like he is getting downplayed in a big way, which means, just speaking from a narrative point of view, Sanji is going to have to come from a more impressive background. He has
Ooh.
to,
So last time you were saying
because
he came from a poor background, but was that you just talking about him working on the ship? Are you wanting to change that now?
no, that's just his working on the ship.
Okay.
Sanji has to come from like some sort of better background because he he is being he's being absolutely disrespected at every turn right now. So you have his poster being that picture of his weird round cartoon Sanji face. Then you have then when he gets shoved into an animal on Thriller Bark, he's put into a penguin dog with the world's goofiest 1978's hat. Um, and just absolutely disrespected for his, yes, the dog pen, absolutely disrespected for his power levels. And so because of this, I think that Sanji actually has to come from something more impressive in order for this to be a thing.
All
So
right.
yeah, I think that
So we're predicting
Sanji's,
Sanji has a more impressive background.
yeah.
All righty.
And I don't know what he is. He's something. He is something. That whole the minute that he turned on his one leg and the whole dang thing turned into red hot fire lava, you're like, yeah, okay, you're not just a person, Sanji. I hate to tell you this, but that's not a normal thing to do with
I
one's
don't know.
leg.
Oda said that his passion burns so hot that it makes sense. Are you sure?
Otis has a lot of cheeky things I've been noticing. Having Sanji understand what the background to having the invisibility fruit would be, and having Sanji talk about why that would have been his go-to fruit, to the point that he knew how to fight with somebody in that, using that fruit, because he had thought about it so deeply. I think that Oda said to himself, this will be kind of funny. And I also think, and people are not going to love my take on this,
Uh
and
huh.
that's okay. I also think it's lazy,
No.
because,
I think it's fair. It's a lazy way to have someone have an
well,
answer
let me
to how to figure
finish
it
my
out.
thinking,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I think that what he said to himself is, "Ooh, we've got this unfortunate thing going on where I've made it so this person is invisible, and we need to have Sanji be able to fight in this moment, and I can't just have nothing happened, and I can't just have them come in here and be able to know where he was unless I have some secret way of him knowing. Oh, I know, his go-to devil fruit that he would have wanted to have is the invisibility, because he's kind of a perv, and so he would have wanted to see girls. You annihilated his reputation, and he's a straw hat. You took him from being a person who was kind of overly romantic, overly into women, and then who would do, a couple of really questionable moments like the frickin' bathhouse and a few things like that. And you absolutely annihilated him for one little writing moment where you were kind of tripping over how to get him to know where Absalom was. And I just felt like you needed to have a different way, because you absolutely took a giant leak all over his reputation and his character, and
It
and just made it so gross.
it makes Sanji so much worse.
Yeah.
And and
And
it and in an arc where Zoro has never looked better.
I don't think it's just a joke. Like, I know that a lot of people are like, well, it's in Japan and so da 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 da.
Yeah.
But I know that I talked to some of my Japanese students who also told me, like, no, they absolutely hated this. It's a common thing. Everyone hates it.
Yeah.
Nobody in Japan is like, that just makes sense. Well,
Yeah.
some
And
people are, but they're not my friends, and we're not
and
braiding each other's hair.
and I think like it also Oda has said in interviews that the reason he has things like Nami extorting people by showing her tits in the bathhouse is because
Yeah.
he felt grossed out by watching anime where boys would consequence free spy on girls, which is why the
Yeah.
idea of Nami taking control of that situation and being in charge of it felt appealing to him. So he clearly understands there's something wrong with it, which is why it feels like he should be able to know that this is a joke he shouldn't make. And again, obviously, we
did.
don't hate One Piece. We still love it. It's just we can point out
No.
things we don't like.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because when I talk about things that I don't find awesome, people get really concerned. that suddenly I'm going to be like, "Rah." No, I'm in it. I'm in it for the
Mhm.
long haul. Not enjoying something, people don't enjoy crap I say nonstop. It's
Yeah.
just a thing people enjoy doing. They
Y'all
enjoy
still
not
here?
enjoying me. So the Robin wing thing, can we just have a moment for Robin?
And the
Like,
fact that her powers aren't growing whatever she wants, she has to meticulously craft wings out
a
of different
hundred
pieces of her body,
percent.
pieces of skin and muscle tissue to craft her own handmade wings out of body
Yeah.
parts. That's so fucking sick.
So when
Holy
I was
shit.
watching this part with Robin, I was thinking all about her creating the aerodynamics, her creating the shape of feathers, her
Yeah,
creating
all out of
the
her
arc that goes
body.
strong enough into her own back.
And then she has
And
to
then
flap them, yeah.
she flaps them, exactly. And then she actually effing flaps them and
Like,
actually freaking flies.
Like the fact that
God
she
damn, that's amazing.
has to handcraft her wings. I also love her being like, I can only do it for 5 seconds. No fucking doubt you can only do it for 5 seconds. It's insane that you figured this out, girl.
Her and Frankie work together in tandem. He's got his arm anchored onto the side. They're flapping over there, and she's like, I'm only going to be able to hold it. And he's like, that's fine. And they get over. Oh, God, it was so
Someone's also
good.
pointing out it's her with angel wings, which is perfect for someone whose title is Devil Child.
Yeah, the whole devil child thing just pisses me off. Oh, you're a devil child for knowing things and having a brain at a young age and being born
Yeah,
on.
too bad.
You
Get
know what?
dunked on. Get genocided.
You know what?
Get good
Bite my
next
ass.
time. Kill
I love
issues.
I love Nami's I'm actually a man and then making friends with the girl. I love their little friendship. I know it started in a rough place, but I love their little friendship.
I just don't get it. I always tell him how much I love him, and I hug him so tight I nearly crack his ribs, and he's just like, oh, whatever about it. I've tried being as sweet as I can, but he just won't notice me.
Well, of course not, Lola. You're going about this all the wrong way. You need to be more aggressive.
Huh? What? Is that the problem?
I'll put it this way. If you want to get married, you can't do it while he's awake. That's just silly. You knock him out and get him to sign while he's sleeping.
Wait, is that really ethical? I mean, like, as a human being?
But you know what one of my very favorite parts of this entire arc is Usopp.
Yes, my boy. I genuinely tear up talking about this scene. Let's get into it.
Okay, so Usopp's whole entire fight with Perona is absolute gold because we are
Comedy,
talking
character, and
about
action. It's all three.
yes, because we are talking about a person who knows himself so well and who takes his weaknesses and when Perona's ghosts are making everyone else fall apart and it's such a problem for them and it's breaking them and it's making them despondent, Usopp being able to say, nice try, biatch. That's where Usopp lives. Like, you're literally in Usopp's house now, and none of your tricks are going to work on me because this is where my strength is, baby. Was the perfect thing for Oda to put right after he did the Usopp coming back onto the boat. Because when we have Usopp questioning who he is and questioning whether he's good enough for the crew to the point that he convinces himself that he should leave the crew and that he's never going to be at the same level as them. And then you have him going to Ennie's lobby where he realizes, he is an amazing sharpshooter. And was it Sanji or Zoro?
It was
Zoro who
Sanji.
told him to
Sanji
go
who
and do the
said,
things.
I'm gonna do
Sanji,
what I'm gonna do the things I
I'm
can
going to
do
do
that
what
you
I
can't.
can do
Yeah.
well. You go do what you can do well. And so we have that, and then it moves into here, and it says now you have Usopp buying into his own personality and saying, I do know that I have something that I can bring to the table.
I just naturally have a negative personality!
And I am going to use it. And so when that happens with Perona and he manages to use all of his self-loathing to his advantage, I was just like, that absolutely was the most amazing thing that you absolutely could have done at this point, because we have to rebuild up Usopp, like it or not.
When he's down on his luck, when he is struggling, when he feels like he's not strong enough and that even though he was the only one who could do this, he can't, He digs deep, realizing no one can save him, calling out for help anyways. And he's not calling out for one of the Straw Hats to turn back because he knows he can't. He calls to the lie he told himself to have the strength to fight when his friends needed him before. And he draws on the inner strength that he built up for himself, that he used to take on the world government without a crew. He was separate from his crew at that point and took on the world government to save Robin. And that strength comes out in the moment of "Save me, Sniper King," which is just
so this
so
is something
good.
that you and I talked about, and I said the thing that I love about Usopp in this time when he is asking Sniper King to save him is that everyone has a strength mask that they put on in this. Like Luffy gears up 2 and 3, and everyone has power levels. And Usopp's power level is his own goddamn lie.
Her starting to pity him to make him, and trying to make him feel better so her powers will work is such a funny joke.
Oh, it's so good. And he's like, don't try to lift up my spirits. It'll never work. It's so good.
It's such a fun bit.
I like Brook fighting against himself and having the notch slash and being in this huge fight. But you know what made me so happy? Like, don't let me forget this. Let's make this a Laboon moment, actually.
Okay, we're going into Laboon now.
Yeah, let's Laboon.
Let us
because
indeed.
it's time. Because
It's
we're
time.
fighting with Brook, and he's obsessed with his bloody afro. And I think that's the time to Laboon. So it is time for my very favorite reveal. I think the Laboon reveal might be one of my favorite moments so far in this entire...
It was like 6 years in the making or something between when Laboon was first mentioned and when you meet Brook.
Holy shit, was it 6 years?
I think it was something like that.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
He's freaking out about his afro over and over again, and you're like, my God, man is spazzing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says 2 things. Number 1, he can't grow back his hair. He's dead. He doesn't have the ability to grow back his hair. And you're like, okay, right away, that makes sense that he would have this identifying feature that he wouldn't want to get rid of. But then when you find out that the second reason that he didn't want to have his hair cut off was because Laboon wouldn't recognize him, oh my God. That was momentously crushing. This idea that he was like, I am obviously nothing like I used to be. We've got my height, we've got my disposition, my ability to sing. But if Laboon is going to recognize anything and know that we lived up to our promise to come back and get him and to be with him again, it's going to be my afro. If you cut off my hair, then how will Laboon know who I am? And to think that that was his greatest concern was just gutting. Then it made all that time so much better. All his silliness about his hair suddenly became meaningful and poignant.
So our editor Celio loves Brook so much, and wrote a summary of the tragedy of Brook. Do you think this is a good time for me to read it?
That they wrote the piece? Go ahead. This is a great time to read it.
Kaido did Nola and Cricket's Love is Brook. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is from our editor Celio, or Cricket Bones. Brook is comedic to anyone who does not think about him, to anyone who does not care to read the cracks that carry on his bones. There are some troubling things that should be noted that I honestly think about sometimes. Thanks, Oda. Let's begin with loss, with the tragedy with the creation of the man we know now. And what a creation. Brook was not the same man we met, he states it himself. He started these games and jokes as an attempt to, on the surface, cheer himself up, but we hear him say that he is so glad to be alive. It was to keep himself a human, like all of us would do, away from the silence of death, the same death that had wrecked those men, that family he had created. Humming Brook died, and Brook, we know, lives now in death amongst the present and past. We will never meet him as he was. It is an understatement to say the loss was great. Look at the size of the dining hall alone and see how many coffins fill it up and how many skulls are in each of those 12 coffins. Just skulls. Even with the skulls alone, Frankie mentions to Brooke offhandedly, so casually that mostly may miss it, the weight is too much for the Sunny to take. The weight is too much for the Sunny to take. What about the man who killed those men? No, not in the way we think, but who chose to continue on the line instead of letting them heal, or maybe simply guiding them differently or choosing a different path. Who chose to fight after the crew's numbers had been sliced, and without the usual familiar guidance, who chose for them. That would be the vice captain, who admittedly was not ready to make those choices. He was wrong. Brooke carries that weight now. As a stand-in captain, it falls on his head. If we agree with that fact or not, he sure does. How terrible it must feel to know you created widows, fatherless children, men you perhaps raised, souls you trained, and people you had adventures with and loved and lost with. Now reduced to skulls in a box you yourself laid to bed. Men who will never have a home other than the earth you stand on, and who do not have a home to return to anymore. People who will never know what happened to their family and without closure. Brooke has known his own bones longer than he's known his skin and flesh. He literally can remember himself dead longer than he can remember being alive and properly human. Picture trying to remember what your eye color used to be, but realizing you forgot years ago. Does Brooke remember the other crew's details? The way Yorkie had smile lines, or Mawari Tosuke's birthday was on the same week as his. Does he remember his own? Or did he pick a day he remembers better, the day he lost a partner? Yorkie, what would he think of him now? After the things he did, after the men on his shoulders, what would Yorkie ever think of him now? Perhaps Luffy reminds him of that golden smile. How about the fact that the man is treated like a grandfather when he died at 38 and was stuck in a time bubble for 50 years, stuck without the thing that age comes with, experience. It is a time capsule in silent hell. The idea of suddenly being flung into a new world like that is scary in its own right. However, the truthful problem would be the fact that you have lost one thing humans love so dear, familiarity. The pirate rookie you knew had grown up to be a king and died before you even found out, drifting alone for another decade. The fact that kings and kingdoms had fallen, perhaps even the one he canonically came from before he was a pirate. Brooke has been stuck alone for longer than any other crew member has been alive. He was literally just found in a black, white, and gray hellscape. Luffy brought color to Brooke's pale white and inken hell, allowing Brooke's own flower to finally blossom instead of being stuck in purgatory. But let's hope he can forgive his own sins. What colors will he bring forward in time? What a fun joke character Oda made for us. What a wonderful smile he brings. Let us hope it can become genuine as time rolls on and as the tide does. Onward, hopefully carrying them on. I think that's beautiful.
Oh, God.
Oh, I forgot to
That
do
was
something I should have
crazy.
done while I was reading that. I want everybody pretend this was on screen while I read that. It's a good bit.
What was supposed to be on screen? I don't see anything.
The Mary.
How dare you? So that's horrible. Thanks for that. Okay, so the reason why it also becomes so difficult is because we're sitting here and we get to hear the entire backstory about how Laboon had been separated from his pod and he had followed them, and how they knew how dangerous it was, and how Laboon would always join in on the songs, and how they took care of him, but then they realized they just couldn't take him any further. And thank God not, because they adventured hard, but they adventured dead.
Yep. And like Laboon now could sink that boat before those poison archers did shit. Laboon then was a baby
Exactly.
whale.
He was just a tiny baby whale. It had to happen. But this is the part. Your friend is a whale? That's right. I can't shake off the feeling that he still thinks of us. He may even still believe that we're going to return, playing our usual cheerful music. I don't think he'll forgive us for dying so irresponsibly. And that's a fair thing to say, P.S. I really think that it was irresponsibly.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't at first, but after watching and listening, and then listening to your thing as well, Cricket, I thought, like, yeah, absolutely, there was irresponsibility in this death. But after coercing him into agreeing to such a selfish act, one that we ended up being unable to fulfill in this faraway place, I can't just die hoping to be forgiven.
Death is never an apology! Because when a man makes a promise, he doesn't stop fighting until he fulfills it.
That's amazing.
It's
And then they're
beautiful.
all like, Laboon? Laboon? Oh, it's no mountain. It's a whale.
Yeah.
I love Laboon so much.
And knowing that someone from Laboon's crew is out there and still loves him and wants nothing in the world more than to finish his journey and deliver on his promise and come back.
We're not even in the final god dang song, and I'm already wazzing in between cricket stuff and okay.
So someone pointed out you get a purple mushroom right now because you said Laboon was Roger's whale. That ain't Roger's whale. That whale didn't know Roger. Well, actually probably met him because he was hanging out when Roger entered the Grand Line.
Okay, again, on page 6 of chapter 460, everyone's face is normal except for my good friend Sanji, whose cigarette is smoking in a way it shouldn't smoke and apparently whose eyeballs smoke now.
You know, sometimes you get real passionate.
Yeah, you know what, Sanji? I see you, and I want you to know I see you.
Sure
I know that you were done dirty, but I see you. There's something very sad about Oars. I feel really sad about Oars.
The great
He's a
continent
character that
polar
makes-
ancient giant who we'll never meet because he was long dead.
Yeah, I'm glad we're not going to meet him as him, but there's something really sad about his character. I question what happened to him and how he became such a great bad boy. I like it though because I like finding out that there's all sorts of different types of giants all over the world, and that some of them are not going to be good kids who do good things. We're going to have some bad boys too.
Oars is so much bigger than the other giants we've met too. Like, he's gigantic.
Kind of ridiculously.
Pirate docking. Pirate docking is great because Frankie proposed turning into the Ryujin. And here's something very important. Your numbers don't need to add up exactly. Your numbers for the Ryujin don't need to add up exactly because one Straw Hat isn't going to participate because it's demeaning as a human being.
Yes. Oh, the joke was hilarious.
Fucking so funny.
Mentioned it. Someone mentioned it earlier, but I was wanting to wait till we got later. That joke was immaculate.
Someone brought it up, so.
And then I was like, well, maybe you could still have a Ryujin, but she would be like, I'm not participating in that.
Especially if I'm right and Wapple's fruit is how the Ryujin happens, I think Robin wouldn't. She'd just go, that's demeaning as a human being, and not step in his mouth.
No, she wouldn't. When you say that, now I worry that Wapple is coming back as a good guy.
You don't have to be a good guy to help the Straw Hats.
Partner,
Wapple could never be a good guy. He's bad.
You know what I mean? A work with. Ugh. I'm with the crew. The fight they had with Oars was one of the craziest fights we've seen.
And it was a group fight. We saw the Straw Hats team up. We never see that.
Yes. It was one of the craziest, coolest fights we've ever seen. Having it be a group fight where we all got to fight one creature was immaculate.
God, yes.
It was like, we got to see so many cool, like not even pirate docking, although pirate docking.
It's so funny.
Pirate docking is one of the most insane freaking ideas that have ever crossed the face of the earth.
It's demeaning as a human being stands to be one of my favorite jokes of all time.
Well, because when I read pirate docking, I was like, this feels icky. I can't put my finger on it, but it feels icky. And then Robin goes, that's demeaning as a human being. And I was like, I'm with you, Robin. There's something really incredible about getting to see them work as a team. And having those pirates come out of the woods and working with Luffy and then shoving all the different shadows inside him.
Like, you seem tough.
Like, we've seen you and you seem like the kind of person who is going to do this and this. And so we're going to, yes, the carpentry on the stairs is amazing. But we saw so many great times in here. And at Shadow Luffy shoving all the things inside of Luffy and having Luffy hold this fight inside of him.
What do you think of the newest Luffy transformation, Nightmare Luffy?
I think he was incredible. So we talk about it all the time. Oda loves a walk-up. I swear to God, Oda saw a powerful walk-up as a kid and was just like, from now on, I'm going to write in my own great good walk-ups because that man loves himself a walk-up. but he has this one that so good. What's his name? I think it was Roast. No, it ends with an S. Hughes, you're getting further away. Oso? Wait, you're almost there. It's Ors. That's it. I'm so sorry. I'm just too injured. Yeah, you can't help it. Can you move a bit, though, and stay out of harm's way? Hey, Ors, if it's true that Luffy's shadow is in you, then you better not underestimate the true power of your own crew. And then they do their walk up. And Zoro does that Zoroing. Oh, God. Every time Zoro ties his freaking scarf around his head, I just am like, oh my
It's so good.
God,
It's
you are
all
so
so
cool
good.
right now. You are so cool right now. I can barely handle it. Your coolness level is making me feel like too full of cool energy. It's rubbing off on everyone. And Sanji scratching the back of his head, smoking up. We got Chopper, one of his ultimate forms. And then frickin' Frankie bringing the two pillars together with the bloody chain in between them,
Making
like
fucking
giant ass
nunchucks out of
nunchucks.
pillars. Oh,
Shut up! That's so
it's so
good.
good.
So good. And then Robin, way too sexy to be fighting in this outfit, but so cool. And frickin' Usopp wearing one of the coolest outfits in the world with his amazing weapon. Like, this is a great walk up. Okay.
Okay.
I love that we get Luffy's goofy character inside of Oars, so he does things like butt stomp. And then they're like,
Yep.
Luffy doesn't do that. But I was thinking, you're kind of wrong, guys, because it feels very butt stomp.
That's not a specific move Luffy does, but that is something Luffy would do if he were a giant.
We get Luffy filled with shadows coming to fight, and the fact that he got pulled aside, but that crew had been hiding out and waiting for their opportunity to have somebody that they could shove them in, and that Luffy was like, you know what, that sounds good, shove me full of shadows, I'm into it, was incredible. And the fight with Oars was amazing. It was, Oda had to let people bitch for a full 2 pages about how unfair it is that they beat them, had to go and fight against Kuma again, because it felt like such a punch to the groin to go through this entire freaking thing, have Luffy pick up, Luffy fighting with a sword, Luffy taking on the characteristics of all of these different people, and having this absolutely incredible fight, all of the people coming together, our entire crew fighting as a unit, absolutely decimating the castle that they were on in the battle, and then boom, Kuma. I was like, no. Oh my God.
Another
no.
warlord after all of that.
Like, to have you coming here and then to have you insulting my crew? I expected more from you, Blackfoot Sanji. You know what, Kuma? I expected you to shut your stupid mouth. Like, shut your whole cake hole. You bugger. That's all I have to say about that.
Damn.
I was
Tell us how
so
you really
mad.
feel.
I feel very mad. So I've been thinking about his Bible. I have ideas now about Kuma.
You do. You've done a lot of deduction about our good friend Kuma.
Yeah. Can I skip there?
I don't see why not. Like, we have never gone less in order. We skipped the hogback fight. We kind of glossed over Luffy's shadow being taken. Like, this is the least point by point we've done. But I think also these videos are more reviews than recaps, so I think it's fine to bounce around a little.
It's time for Kuma.
It is.
Kuma's shirt is making me think some things.
Okay. A lot of things about Kuma are making you think some things.
What do you mean?
Like there's a lot of factors about Kuma you're thinking about, right?
Yeah. So I'm just going to start with Kuma's shirt. So Kuma's shirt is kind of similar to the way that we are doing the 4 great kids.
The 4 great kids?
Who I'm saying are, we know about Red Hair Shanks and we know about Whitebeard. Was I told the other one?
There's another 2 you don't know of the 4 great kids.
Because we now know that Dragon is not part of that world.
Yes.
And so Kuma's shirt is making me think like it's kind of divided up in the 4 great powers, and he's wearing it on his shirt. The idea that their continuous powers move around the world. which makes sense when you find out that Kuma is partially a government creation, because the government using a similar symbol to their own symbol, but in reverse, because in the government symbol, you've got the center circle, and then you have
it said this arc
long
mentions
line.
Kaido. This arc mentions one of the emperors, Kaido, is who defeated Moria originally and made him lose his will to fight.
Yeah, I saw that. That's why I just said to you, am I
Yeah, there
missing one of
is
them?
one.
Because
Kaido is
there
one of the
is a
ones we
person.
know.
Thank you. So Kuma's shirt is kind of almost the exact same symbol as the government symbol, only we don't see the end of the circles when they
Interesting,
branch
yeah.
out on the side, which I think is a really interesting thing, especially that we know that he is a government creation. Okay.
Okay.
Kuma having the Bible in his hand,
Yep.
I think, is going to become incredibly important. I'm starting to feel like he has some otherworldly power from our secret friend, the Shadow of Darkness,
Okay.
who would be inside of the government. And so whether he knows it or not, and he might, I think that I think Kuma has is being aided in some way by this strength, by this otherworldly strength and this shadow. And it's interesting because it feels like the Bible is a contradiction, but I'm starting to see that the Bible might be like a source of power piece. I have not played with the Bible ideas at all. What I have played with is that we don't know what his fruit is here, right? Like I've gone
No.
all
Oh,
through
no,
it and rechecked.
Kuma's fruit, we know it's the pawpaw fruit. He's a paw
No,
man.
but we don't know all of its powers. We just know that it's a pawpaw fruit,
Yeah,
right?
we know he says it can push anything. That's what he explains.
Yeah, so he sees it as a pushing kind of fruit. But it feels to me like he's able to, it feels a lot like the moment when Zoro was able to see where every single thing was,
Okay.
and he was able to look between the particles, and he said, I can see through to the things that are underneath. I can see every part that a rock is made up of. I can feel where everything is. So it feels a lot like that, but jacked up, like it's on steroids. And so his ability to push through, he's not just pushing through when he pushes out the energy inside Luffy, which doesn't even make sense. Like, how is he seeing the energy inside of Luffy to be able to push that out? So
Okay.
it almost feels like it is mantra or something, and that he is able to see through Luffy to find the parts of Luffy that are the pain, that he can discern different things. Like if he wanted to, he could push out Luffy's blood, or he could push out the pain, or he could push out anything else. There's something in there that I haven't fully fleshed out with him. Also, for sure, I think he worked with Dragon.
Okay.
So
And explain it.
So here's what I was thinking. Did Kuma work with Dragon, or did Dragon work with Kuma? Because that's the question that you got to ask yourself. Was Kuma a revolutionary, or was Dragon working for the government? Because they know each other. The fact that Kuma stands there because when you're listening to Zoro say to him, I will if you need a head, take mine. I have a huge bounty. I'm not as much as Luffy is right now, but when you think about the fact that was intending to be the greatest swords person in the world, I'm still a real catch, right? So Zoro makes this whole plea: take my head instead of Luffy's. And yeah, absolutely honorable. I'm not saying it's not at all. It is incredible. But it doesn't seem like it should be enough for Kuma to then decide that he is going to not kill Luffy when he was directly told by the government that he had to create him. He's called a pacifista. So he is built by the government for a specific thing. And they said, kill Luffy, kill the crew. No one can be alive who knows what happens there, because if we find out how easy it is to take down one of the seven, and we've already taken another one of the 7 down, you're going to rattle the entire system. And so it shouldn't be enough. But he says, I am the government's human weapon, but I'm not yet complete. So a pacifista, in my opinion, I don't know who it is, but somebody has the ability to give hockey to their warriors, somebody in the government, and that Kuma is full of hockey and he is and mantra, honestly, and that is part of the change that's going to happen with this doctor, that he is building this thing. And to call him a pacifista, like, could that be any more ironic, by the way? Love that for us.
The super weapon cyborg is called a pacifista?
Yeah, like, ridiculous. And so it's really incredible, this idea then. I was created by the world government's resident genius, Dr. Vegapunk. He possesses the world's most brilliant mind, blah, blah, blah. So when he tells them, let's make this compromise and I'll give you my head, he says, if I lay a hand on the Straw Hat Luffy after this, I'll be put to shame. It was questionable. I've shown you that I'm man of my word. Now it's your turn. I think that it was questionable that he gave him enough of a reason to not attack Luffy after he was given a direct order from the government, who is creating him. And so for that reason, when I was watching this, and then he takes all of the pain out of Luffy, why is he removing the pain and suffering from Luffy to give it to Zoro? I don't know. I don't know if that was a real good enough reason.
So you're saying not only is it a test for Zoro, but it could also be to save Luffy and give him a better chance of survival.
Yes. So honestly, Luffy just had over 100 shadows shoved inside of him, went through this incredible battle, absolutely was annihilated by this, and is passed out cold. And then here we have Kuma suddenly take all the pain and suffering from Luffy when he was told to kill him. That feels a little bit too much of a opportunity to save him rather than kill him.
So that combined with him talking to himself, talking to Dragon, you think means that he has a connection to Dragon and owes him something.
Exactly.
Especially
so then
because
he gets
he
to
says
the end and he says to him, fine, here's a little bit of Luffy's pain and you're about to have it all and it's probably going to kill you. If you truly are taking his place, then you must accept his agony. You are near death yourself and it will be impossible for you to withstand and you will die. So when I saw that, I was like, come on, my friend. He needs to take the pain and suffering out of Luffy for Luffy to live. And why would he ever in God's green earth do that when he was directly told to kill him? Just because Zoro said that he should take his place? No, that's not enough reason. You're not losing face for that. So then when he says in the next place and Zoro asked to be moved, he says one thing, just let me change the location, which was brilliant. Like, what a Zoro thing to say. And this is why Zoro, I'm just going to cut to the chase. Zoro's number 1 today on the chart.
No, come on. It's Thriller Bark. He stole the entire... Yeah. He was
without a question, the man is at the top of the charts.
He was like kind of fighting for 4th or 5th this arc, I feel like, until Kuma's whole shit, and then just steals 100%, everything.
100%. So then when he's sitting there and Zoro asks to be changed locations so nobody will see him in his suffering when nothing happens. And then Kuma says out loud to passed out Luffy, you have exceptional friends. And then he says out loud,
he couldn't be anyone's son but yours, could he, Dragon?
It made me feel like Kuma and Dragon had to have been exceptional friends. They had to have been exceptional friends.
At the very least, Kuma needs first-hand experience with what friendship means to Dragon, and being his close friend would be the easiest way to have that first-hand experience.
100%, but it makes me feel like the two of them know each other very well, because why would he talk to Dragon standing on the edge of this frickin' place and have this conversation out loud unless he and Dragon had enough of a history together that he would have a reason to talk to Dragon out loud when he met his son. So it felt to me like Kuma was actually intentionally rescuing Luffy and was using his powers to strengthen Luffy's healing time. And then for him to have an incredible crew who respected him made him say to himself that he was worth saving and that he was as exceptional as his father. Then it made me think, okay, if they knew each other, then in my opinion, it feels like Dragon would have had to have worked for the government.
All right.
Because I think that Dragon, it makes sense when Dragon's father is in the Navy and when Kuma is with the government and
Nobody predictions here.
they were such good friends that Kuma would have had to have Dragon would have had to have worked for the government in order for them to have been together. And then Dragon had to find out information that he shouldn't have known, that he found out that he was high enough up that he got, and that it was such great information that he was absolutely disgusted with the government. And he said, F this. And he left the government, even though he and Kuma were great friends, to start a revolution because he knew the truth now. And once he knew some of the truth, and now he talks about how he is holding the truth and how the whole world wants the truth. And once he saw some of the truth and what was happening with inside the government, be it that he understood that there was a shadow of darkness, be it that he understood about the missing years, Pet the Boy, or whatever else it might be, that he would have had to have left. But I think that he and Dragon worked together. The other side of the coin could be that Dragon was a revolutionary, et cetera, or sorry, Kuma, and that he got injured and then was rebuilt by the government. But I think part of the factor here is that Kuma was already a strong person, already had exceptional abilities, and that the government has slowly been working on him behind the scenes with Dr. What's his name? Verapunk? Vera?
Dr. Vegapunk.
Vegapunk, which reminds me of one of your poems. So I think that it could be possible that he got very injured or something similar to the way that it happened with Frankie and that they rebuilt him. But I think that he's been rebuilt in a way where they're using haki or mantra to strengthen him because he's something beyond steel. Because we know that Zoro is able to cut through steel. He can cut through a bloody train. So he's also made of something that we haven't seen yet. The material that is being made for Kuma is a very different material. I think, is it being strengthened by him himself? Is he able to push out weakness? I don't know. When he says he's able to push out anything, is some of the thing that he's able to push out himself weakness? And he can differentiate in his own body the things that would make him less strong. Quixote Dill wanted to know my thoughts about them saying, with your strength, you'll just die anyways if you continue on your voyage. You're not fit for the new world. It seems like you have a couple of good underlings, but you'll lose them all. Do you know why I was like you once, trusting in my famous and talented crew, but I concluded long ago it wasn't enough. I loved that because to me it just highlighted how much better Luffy is, because I wanted to say that for you, absolutely, because Luffy has a unique talent that other people don't have, and it's something that we mentioned earlier where he's able to flip-flop back and forth, and he's able to be the straight man through knowledge, and he's able to be the funny guy without knowing it. Luffy has the ability to make each one of his crew members feel like they are integral for him to achieve his dream. And they feel like, because of that, like they are also helping him create his dream, so it becomes their dream as well. And it isn't Luffy just pushing a crew hard. So I hate saying this out loud, but I also love saying it out loud. Luffy and Foxy have a lot more in common.
Oh my
because
god.
When Foxy has his crew, he has a way of making the whole crew feel like they are the best of the best, the coolest of the coolest, and they're all in a lark together. And they are out in the world having absolute fun and just getting into adventure after adventure. But each adventure is something worthwhile, even when they're being attacked, fighting, etc. And that's the exact same thing for Foxy and Luffy, and that they both are such charismatic leaders, but not in the way that they're charismatic and getting people to do what they want because they're giving like raw death war speeches, but in the way that their charisma is infectious and you feel like a better version of yourself when you're with them. And so for me, yeah, that might have happened to this person because traditional captains are charismatic in the way that they are great leaders and they tell people what to do. But those people don't feel like they have a say in what's going to happen as much as they do on Foxy's ship, which is run with more chaos, and on Luffy's ship, which is running more chaos. But yet, despite the chaos that's taking place, they still have an overarching purpose that threads them together so that they don't fall off the track. The method of getting to there is going to be chaotic and interesting and adventurous. Everyone is going to be needed to do it. But unfortunately, in my opinion, Luffy and Foxy have a lot in common as leaders. And that's why I don't think that they would have to worry about anything like a crew having a mutiny.
I will say, though, what Moria's warning about isn't a mutiny. It's very specifically just not being strong enough and losing your crew. Like, he was defeated. His crew was killed by Kaido.
He was defeated, but he also made a thing where he said they'll turn their backs on you.
True. So they abandoned him, which is something Luffy's crew wouldn't do. However,
yes, and his wouldn't.
Something I think is very important to note, that this is something I started to pick up on my first viewing, and so did a friend of mine. So this is first viewing information, which again I've said is fair. Everyone we've met up to this point has been talking up how big things are to come, especially all of the villains that have been hardest to fight. Lucci hyped it up and talking about you can't fight the whole world, whatever. But the two I want to focus on are Moria and Crocodile. They are people that felt almost untouchable. When Luffy first tried to fight Moria, he couldn't beat him at all. He couldn't get through his defenses and hit him. The only reason we stood a chance at the end was because Moria got impatient and absorbed all the shadows. If he had kept fighting, he probably could have won. And he instead got impatient and was frustrated and lost his cool, which is an edge for us. But both of those two, who were so hard to beat, who each of them handed at least 2 victories to the Straw Hats, both of them think that to take on the world, they need more. They need super weapons. They need a big threat. They are hyping up how big the real heavy hitters in the world are, and they were handing us our ass. I think that hype for the size of the world to come is so well done in that fact.
I agree, but the thing in there that doesn't make me as nervous as it should is that has happened to us every time as a crew we go into anything. When we went into the Grand Line, the very first thing we were told is that we wouldn't survive as a crew because the things over there were far too scary for us. They were way above our ability. When we first fought Crocodile, he impaled Luffy through the chest and Luffy nearly died. In a similar position as we have going on with Kuma here. So whenever this happens, I just feel like each and every single time this happens and that we get hyped up, it's amazing because he's doing leveling for us. He's showing the leveling ahead of time so that we're able to know how much bigger the next battles are, because I think eventually our crew prevails and they learn to use hockey to bring themselves up to that level.
Is there anything else we need to touch on before we go to closing segments?
There's so many things, right? Like,
there's so much we moved quickly through.
I feel sad that we couldn't do this like slower because
I think it's fine, but I get that. I am looking forward to in the second half when we get to slow down a bit.
You told me that the next section that I'm reading, no, there is something else and I do need to do it, and it would be a disservice not to.
Okay, let's do it.
So we're just going to talk about the very end when we get to see the sadness of Brook, and we get to see how Brook slowly watched his crew die, and he turns on the recorder and he records his entire crew singing one more song for who? Laboon. And because they said, Brook, we know that you've eaten the revived fruit, you're responsible for bringing this to Laboon. And the reason that it's so amazing is because not only is it the crew's last thing and they're bringing it to Laboon, which is unbelievable, but it was Brook's idea. And Brook knew that he was going to come back, and he didn't know that he was going to first be a ghost wandering looking for his own body. And so Brook needed to help to give the crew purpose in their final moments. He was watching them all die slowly, and part of him for sure was thinking we need to bring this special thing to Laboon, but part of him was probably also thinking we need to give the crew something to focus on rather than just their end. And so by recording this song and having everybody sing to Laboon and sing a song that meant so much to Laboon that he would have heard them sing before, but also something that he says, something pirates would sing in the good times and the bad, that it is a thing that threads together all your moments as a pirate on the sea. And so when he records it and slowly watches his crew fall over and die, I kept thinking what a gift it was that he made sure that in the last moments, the crew felt like at the very end of their life, they were still fulfilling some greater purpose and they were still doing something worth valuing. And what a gift to give to people at the end of your life. You were in your very last moments before you die, and he gave to them a direction to pour their heart into. So their last thoughts weren't about how they were dying. Their last thoughts were about a life worth lived and the happiness they'd bring to a friend.
That's so sad and sweet.
And it just made me feel so truly, truly proud of him for giving his crew something to feel love, joy, and purpose as they passed. He also gave them the ability to think about Laboon and what a beautiful, beautiful friendship they all had with him. So at the end of their life, they did something worth doing. He gave them meaning and purpose, and he gave them a happy thought to focus their lives on. This was his way of getting to say goodbye to them too. He said goodbye. He said, okay, boys, gather around. We're going to sing one last song to Laboon. And it was also a goodbye to each other. They sang a song they sang together all the time. And through music, they said goodbye to each other and their friend.
The segment ending you sent earlier.
So, yeah, that was really, really, I think, one of the most beautiful things in this entire part.
It's something
crushed my
that
whole soul.
Celio points out is that the deck being clean of bodies when he's walking around, he's probably doing this for the 1000th time, and it's the scene that leads to Luffy finding him.
Okay, so then there's another part where he's saying goodbye to Captain Yorkie, and they leave Captain Yorkie in a place, like not in his bed.
Somewhere.
He's still...
Well, he's left to go see if he can find a miracle cure for the disease.
But he's laying in his bed and he's sent off. So, prediction, we're definitely going to meet Captain Yorkie in the future.
This has been a popular fan theory since about right now where you are.
Come on, how can we not?
I'm on Team Yorkie's coming back. I've always been on Team Yorkie's coming back.
So another thing that I thought was interesting, because those are all beautiful, but we can't forget that
thoughts so that I get it right, because I misinterpreted things.
Okay, do you want to say it first?
No. It's not in yet. What did we gloss over? We glossed over a lot. Someone wanted us to talk about Lola, because Lola happened and we didn't get to mention Lola, the woman running around looking, asking people to marry her, that the shadow was taken for the pig Lola.
Yeah, the one who ends up becoming friends with Nami in the regular life too, whose shadow was there, who Nami actually gives money to, so we know how much that relationship meant to her.
And that person gives her a Vivre card of her mom.
So I was thinking about this, and this is how we end in a more funnier note. People have a really easy time forgiving Brooke for being a pervert. And then some people are like, he's not a pervert. He is. He's a pervert. And so here's my thinking on that. I think people don't find him to be perverted, and it doesn't bother him. If you think about what he originally looked like when he had flesh on him, if as a fleshed person, he was walking up to people and saying, can I see your panties? And he actually does it with Sanji in here, which is an area that made me really cringe. And as a woman, I've talked to lots of other women who love One Piece, and they're like, no, I don't like it either. I think it's gross, but I like Brooke, and I have a really hard time around with this. And I said, I think it's really easy for people to forgive Brooke and not see him that way is because he's Bones. if he still had flesh on him and he
Mhm.
walked up to people and said, "Can I see your panties?" people would be so grossed out. And it's because as Bones, there's one bone he doesn't have.
Uh-huh.
And so because he doesn't have that one particular bone, now that he has no flesh, I think it's very easy for people to forgive him because he can't go in that direction.
Hey, everybody. In the not too distant future, we're going to be starting a Patreon. I'm going to be trying to start in the new year, which probably means by February, with how I am at the speed of these things. The Patreon is going to have a goal. The goal is going to be to have all of its money funneled towards buying the box sets from Mama Drock. So we are going to be buying Mama Drock the box sets as she goes through bit by bit. After that, it'll be reinvested into the channel in different ways, but that'll be the start of what we're going to be funding with the Patreon. If you want access to the high-res versions of the pictures I've worked on so far, I would recommend you go to the Discord now, because once the Patreon started, there will be a patron tier of the Discord that'll get you access to the portfolio channel, and there will be a low-res portfolio channel that'll be accessible to everybody. So if you want full-res images, go now, because very, very soon, we will not have full-res images available for everybody.
Can we have a chat for a little second?
Yeah, I'm available for that. What's up?
Have you been watching this?
Yeah. What if I
Did you like it? Was it good?
I got a lot of fun. I'm still here, ain't I?
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, well, if you're here and you enjoyed this, would you mind pressing the like button? Because then that shows other people that you liked it, and then people who are like you might also like it.
Damn,
Also, if you like it, press subscribe and hit that bell thing there. The bell tells you every single time we're going to be on. At 50,000, the kid named Drock is going to turn into a pineapple. He'll
That's
have a
what'll
face
happen.
that's a pineapple, a body that's a pineapple.
Should we
hair, pineapple.
So the actual thing is, I'm going to cosplay Marco. I'm gonna dye my hair. I'm gonna wear and open his shirt, the purple shirt. I'm gonna dress like Marco. I'm gonna make myself look like Marco.
I'm pretty sure I said 150,000. If we have 150,000 subscribers, and you were like,
right.
"What?
That sounds right.
That sounds like a lot." Yeah, that's
Someone
what
said
I
it was
said.
5. I think it wasn't 5.
I think it was 2. I said 250? My God.
We gotta do our closing segments though. We haven't done our top 5. We haven't done where Luffy is on the Luffy tier list, presented by Luffy.
I have to tell you guys, I've just had such a great time. I know that we couldn't do Thriller Bark enough justice. This needed to be many things, and we needed to talk about it forever and a day. But
There's
it is
a
what
video
it
we
is.
very much want to get out in January is also a thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
So
otherwise
we
it's
need
probably
to
would have
rush
been 2
through,
parts.
apparently. Okay, number 1, straight to the top of the charts,
Uh-huh.
is Zoro.
Hell
He just
yeah.
did. There's no denying it. The man killed it. What did Zoro do, Mama? What did Zoro do? He did nothing. Zoro did nothing, and it was beautiful, and I cried.
You don't even need to explain. Like, yeah, of course Zoro wins Thriller Bark. It's Brook's arc, and even for me, I'd put Brook in second place.
Yeah, he's number 1 in the Hot Sun.
So
who would put Brook in second place?
I would. Brook does a fuck ton here. He's so integral to the plot. His backstory is incredible. He's the emotional drive. He connects us to Laboon. I might, you know what I might do if it were me, is Brook Laboon share a seat.
Yeah, you know what? I can Brook Laboon share a seat at number 2.
I think it's the first time I've outright pitched one to you, but like, you just seem so surprised by Brook.
Don't pitch anymore. People are going to eat you.
I won't.
You're way too chalky. People will be like, shut up. Tell him Mama Drock things.
Celia says, fuck you, Drock. JK. They added a JK, but that's great.
Brook Laboon. Number 3, Usopp.
Honestly, Usopp, Zoro, and Brook are the MVPs of this arc. They are incredible.
Yeah. And it's really hard because it's really hard for me to just keep Usopp there because I just have a negative personality. Yeah, like this is exactly what we needed Usopp to have, because he needed another growth so that we could have him be back in the crew in a good way and leaning into his own strengths, and his own strengths were his own personality. Number 4 is a Nami Robin tie.
All right, I need you to explain why they're linked, because as far as I can see, their only link is they're women, and that doesn't feel like a great reason they get to tie.
No, they're not linked in a way that they're holding hands and sharing moments. They're linked in a way that they both gave the same amount. Like Robin coming at it, growing wings, pulling them in, the fight, et cetera, is amazing. But I think people forget that Nami, on the other hand, was sexually assaulted and captured.
That's what she gets as a bonus.
No, listen. She wakes
I
up,
know.
and what does she do?
You just have to admit how this is framed.
No, she wakes up and immediately starts to fight. Finds her way to the treasure room, grabs all the different people, figures out what's going on with the shadows, is bossing everyone around, getting the food to get to the ship, telling, like, she is like, the minute that chick wakes up, where she should feel like, I just can't even, she gets up and immediately gets all her strengths back on and takes over. She's amazing.
You're right.
And she wouldn't even be playing the victim. She was a victim, but she doesn't even sit in it for a second.
Yeah, but I need to express my concerns, because I feel the audience may have the same concerns.
What is it? Tell me.
I'm a little bit feeling like you're putting her with Robin, so it's harder to push her off and drop her to a lower position because she's tied to somebody else.
No, I think Robin and Nami gave equally
Just
to
in
this
the past,
plot.
we've kind of had a policy of like characters sharing a spot when they were part of the same plot beats and made each other's character stories better. It's kind of been the policy in the past.
Fine.
No,
Nami's number 4.
All right, Nami's number 4. I think that's honestly fair. I think Nami is incredible in this arc, and I honestly think a spot above Robin makes sense. So Robin's 5? Oh, someone else gets to be 5.
Because
I'm so curious.
Kuma.
That's fair. Kuma's fascinating, and he makes the climax of this arc the way that it is.
I just think that Robin should be allowed to hang out with Nami because she does so much.
Guys, I get that you want Frankie to be on because he built a cool bridge, but that can't get you. That can't be enough.
Crap. Is it just me, or are people obsessed with that bridge?
I didn't know it was such a thing, but I admit, before other people brought it up, I was excited to talk to you about the bridge because I thought the bridge is so funny that he built a bridge so fast he can build it faster than it's falling. Yeah. It's so dumb. It's such a funny bit, but everyone really loves this bridge.
That bridge is amazing, but people are obsessed with the bridge, and I'm here for it. I love it when people get obsessed about crap.
It's fun.
I think I can't wait to find out more about Kuma. I can't wait to see how he was corrupted, but how he just saved Luffy's life. And you drawing this, like, Luffy would have lived, but like he let Luffy rejoin himself and be stronger. And you drawing it like this and really seeing all the pain leave Luffy's body and all the damage, that just, to me, and how little he is inside of his hand, come on. You can't tell me this dude wasn't friends with his dad. He's supposed to be killing him.
I am thrilled to see if we get those answers, and if you're right. Someone is asking what the plans are when we slow down in the second half, and it's just going to be breaking down the arcs into smaller sections so that we can go over them more minutely, because right now we feasibly can do arcs in one video, but in the future when we can't, we might as well be thorough instead. Well, thank you guys for watching so much.
I think that this was one of my favorite arcs. I wish we could have broken it into 2 sections because I would have loved to have talked about some of the fights and some of the pieces some more. But my God.
We didn't get to talk about the Ryuma fight even.
No, it was such a big arc.
There's so much to it. Yeah, let's just quickly say we both loved it. It was great.
We talked about it off. Like, I just loved this arc. And I liked that it felt like such a departure from his regular arcs. Like, it felt like we were going, it really did feel like we changed. Yeah. So I honestly feel like I would have loved to have divided this into 2. But on the other hand, I can't wait for this next one because it sounds like it's short enough that I can absolutely go cork crazy. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to one and a Kwanzaa to all.
Happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah.
And
You
until
will-
next time, it's been lovely talking to you.